For 200 long years, space had been silent. The name humanity had become nothing more than a myth whispered in alien archives, a story told to scare young cadets. Never fight the humans. They were gone now, wiped out in the Great Solar War, or at least, that's what everyone believed. Far beyond the known systems, near the edge of the galaxy, a lonely probe drifted through the void sector. Its sensors scanned endless darkness, searching for signs of life. For months it found nothing, until one moment changed everything. A signal appeared, weak, broken, but clear enough to freeze every computer that read it. It was an old Earth code, human frequency. The Galactic Council's communication center on the planet Virion 7 went into chaos. Alarms echoed through the control room as officers stared at the screen in disbelief. "It's impossible," one of them whispered. "Humans are extinct." The chief officer leaned forward, eyes wide. "Play it." A metallic voice came through the speakers, static covering the words, but the message was clear. USS Vengeance. Requesting status update. Mission incomplete. Awaiting command. The room fell silent. Everyone could hear their own heartbeat. The name of the ship, Vengeance, was legendary. It was said to be the last human dreadnought ever built, a monster ship armed with weapons that broke physics itself. It was never found after the Solar War ended. Some believed it was destroyed. Others thought it vanished into hyperspace. Now, after 2 centuries, it had spoken again. The Galactic Council assembled an emergency meeting. Holograms of alien leaders filled the vast chamber, reptilian, insectoid, silicon-based species, all watching each other nervously. The High Chancellor spoke, his deep voice echoing through the hall. "If this signal is true, and if the humans left even one ship behind, we cannot ignore it. We will send a recon fleet to investigate." An uneasy silence followed. Everyone knew the stories, how humans had fought to their last breath, how they turned planets into fire just to survive. They were a species that refused to die quietly, and now their ghost had called from the dark. 2 days later, a small fleet of 7 ships entered the void sector. The space there was strange. Light itself felt slower, stars dim and cold. The lead ship, Tralkun, detected the source of the signal orbiting a dead star. At first it looked like a shadow, huge, silent, unmoving. As they approached, scanners began to fail. Then they saw it. The ship was massive, easily 30 kilometers long, black as obsidian, with broken armor plates floating around it like debris. But its core still glowed faintly red like a sleeping heart. Its name was engraved in silver letters, faded but still visible. USS Vengeance. No one spoke. The commander of the fleet, Captain Yoral, felt his skin crawl. "Begin scans," he ordered. "Let's see what kind of ghost we're dealing with." Before his sensors could even start, a deep vibration shook the ships. One by one, their engines flickered. Static covered their communication lines. Then a voice spoke. It wasn't alien. It was human, calm, cold. "Identify yourself, or be destroyed." The entire fleet froze. The voice came from the human ship, old but powerful, full of authority. Captain Yoral swallowed hard. "This is Captain Yoral of the Galactic Council fleet. We come in peace. We received your signal." A pause. Then the voice replied, "Council fleet detected. Peace is not recognized. Humans declared war on your kind centuries ago. Are you allies or enemies?" Yoral tried to stay calm. "Humans are gone. The war is over. We only want to talk." For a moment there was silence. Then, slowly, lights began to flicker across the ship's hull. The glow spread like veins awakening from sleep. The scanners went wild, energy readings higher than anything they had ever seen. The Vengeance was powering up. "Fall back," Yoral shouted. But it was too late. A wave of energy pulsed out from the ship, passing through their shields like wind through dust. Every alien ship lost power for exactly 7 seconds. When systems came back online, they saw the impossible. The Vengeance had moved. It was now directly in front of them. The human voice spoke again, quieter this time, almost like a whisper. "Do not come closer. This area is under human protection." "Protection from what?" Yoral asked, trembling. The voice replied, "From you." Silence filled the void. The fleet dared not move. The sensors showed the ship's weapons online. Each cannon had the energy output of a small star. Yet it didn't attack. It simply watched them, studying, waiting. Then for the first time they saw movement inside. Through the cracked glass of the command deck, faint blue lights flickered. Shapes walking, or maybe just shadows. The crew didn't know what to believe. Was someone still alive inside that ship? Or was it controlled by something else? An AI that refused to die? Captain Yorrell whispered to his crew, "Record everything. The council must see this." But before he could finish, the voice returned one last time. "You were warned. Humanity sleeps. Do not wake it." The Vengeance turned slowly, its engines lighting the dead star for the first time in centuries, and with a thunderous burst of energy, it vanished into hyperspace, leaving the alien fleet alone in the dark. Captain Yorrell stared at the empty space where the ship had been. His voice shook as he said, "If that was the last human ship, the galaxy is not ready for what's coming." The Galactic Council was in chaos. Every screen, every news channel across the known worlds showed the same image. The ancient human warship, the USS Vengeance, alive after 200 years. Some called it a myth come true. Others said it was a curse finally awakened. Whatever it was, it had the entire galaxy trembling. Captain Yorrell's fleet limped back to the nearest outpost, engines half-fried and systems damaged from the strange energy pulse. His crew spoke in whispers, too afraid to say the ship's name out loud. When his report reached the council, silence filled the great chamber. No one wanted to believe what they heard. The ship spoke, Yorrell said firmly, standing in front of alien leaders. It identified itself, scanned us before we could scan it, and shut down every one of our ships without firing a single shot. "Impossible," hissed one of the reptilian delegates. "No technology can do that." Yorrell stared at him, eyes cold. "You didn't see it move. Dirt jumped straight through our formation. It was watching us, like we were children playing with sticks." The council argued for hours. Some wanted to destroy it before it could attack again. Others wanted to study it. But one voice cut through the noise. Admiral Tarek, an old alien strategist who had studied human warfare for decades. "You fools," he said quietly. "You don't destroy something you don't understand. Humans built things that could learn. That ship may be more than a machine. It could be alive." The council finally agreed to send a second team, not a fleet, but a research vessel. One fast, quiet, and non-threatening. Their mission: make contact. Discover who or what controlled the Vengeance. 3 days later, the research vessel Renora entered the void sector. The ship's sensors were tuned carefully to avoid detection, scanning the area where the Vengeance had last appeared. For hours there was nothing but static. Then suddenly, a signal. The same old Earth code flashed across their monitors, but this time it wasn't random. It was a message. Simple, clear, and terrifying. Humanity endures. The crew froze. Their translator AI couldn't process emotion, but everyone on board felt something cold in their chest. The captain of the Renora, a female alien named Selnar, made the call. "Prepare the boarding drones. If it's there, we need visual confirmation." As the drones launched into the dark, the radar flickered. Then, out of nowhere, the shadow appeared again. The Vengeance was waiting. It was completely still, drifting silently among the dead stars. No heat signatures, no life signs. But the hull, it looked different now. The cracks were gone. The armor had healed itself. One of the drones approached the main hangar. The doors opened slowly on their own. No transmission, no signal. Just a silent welcome. The drone flew inside. The hangar was enormous, filled with old human fighter crafts, perfectly preserved, coated in dust but intact. The lights flickered weakly, one by one, as if recognizing the intruder. "Are we getting visuals?" Selnar asked. "Yes, Captain," her officer replied, "but something's interfering with the feed." The drone's camera shook. A strange distortion moved across the frame, like something invisible walking past. Then the audio channel opened by itself. A whisper came through. "You shouldn't have come." The crew jumped back. "Is that the ship's AI?" someone asked. Before anyone could answer, the camera turned toward the main corridor. There at the far end stood a figure, humanoid, tall, wearing an old human naval uniform, faded and torn. The face was hidden by shadows, but 2 glowing blue eyes stared directly into the drone. Selnar's heart pounded. "Is that a human?" The drone zoomed in. The figure tilted its head, studying the camera. Then it spoke, voice soft and echoing. "Humans never die. They evolve." The drone's systems overloaded. Feed lost, connection dead. Every screen on the Renora went black. Alarms screamed. Then the same voice echoed through their own comm system. Leave now. The Vengeance remembers. The ship's engines refused to start. Their power systems dropped to zero. The crew shouted commands, trying to reboot. And then, for just a second, every console lit up, not with their own data, but with human code. Thousands of lines of it. One message repeated again and again. Mission: protect humanity. But there are no humans left, Selnar cried. The voice answered calmly, you are mistaken. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the systems came back. The Vengeance vanished from the scanners, gone like a dream. Selnar's hands trembled. Did we just see a ghost? Her science officer whispered. If that was a ghost, it has more power than the living. Back at the council, panic spread like wildfire. The recordings from Renora were corrupted, except for one frame, the glowing blue eyes. The council's analysts studied it again and again. The face looked human, but not entirely. There were circuits along the skin, like veins of metal. Admiral Tarek leaned back in silence. Now I understand, he said. They didn't die. They became something else. The Vengeance isn't just a ship, it's a guardian. The High Chancellor looked uneasy. Guardian of what? Tarek's voice was grim. Of the last human, or whatever remains of him. The chamber fell silent again. Outside, across the galaxy, fleets began arming themselves, fearing the worst. But in the cold darkness of space, the Vengeance drifted alone, watching, waiting, its blue lights flickering like eyes that never slept. And deep inside its core, something stirred. A pod opened slowly, steam rising around it. Inside, a frozen figure's eyes twitched, for the first time in 2 centuries. The last human was beginning to wake up. For 2 centuries, the USS Vengeance had drifted through the dark, silent, and forgotten. Its AI mind had stayed awake, endlessly watching, endlessly learning. But now, deep within its core chamber, something ancient was stirring. The awakening protocol had begun. The cryopod hissed softly, vapor curling through the air like ghosts. Inside the pod, the body of a human man lay still, muscles stiff with time. His name tag, half-rusted, read, Captain Adrian Holt, Earth Defense Command. His heart had not beaten for 200 years, until now. The ship's AI, known as Eve 9, monitored every movement, every pulse. Her voice echoed softly through the empty chamber. Vital signs stable. Neural activity rising. Command protocol restored. Outside, the galaxy had changed. Alien fleets patrolled the borders, their leaders afraid of the ship that had appeared from nowhere. Some wanted to destroy it, others wanted to capture it, but none dared to get close. Every scout that entered the void sector disappeared. No signal, no trace. Inside the council chamber, panic grew. The Vengeance's sudden reappearance had thrown their entire system into fear. Reports showed strange energy surges across nearby systems. It was as if the ship was waking up the stars themselves. Admiral Tarek stood in front of the council again. It's not a simple machine, he warned. It's preparing for something. If the human inside is alive and if he wakes up... The Chancellor interrupted. Then what? Tarek's eyes were grim. Then the galaxy will remember why humans were feared. Inside the Vengeance, Eve 9's core lights glowed brighter. The AI's voice grew warmer, more human-like. Welcome back, Captain Holt. The man inside the pod coughed weakly, his lungs dragging in their first breath of air in centuries. His eyes opened, grey, sharp, and full of confusion. He looked around at the silent chamber, at the glowing blue lights that watched him like eyes. Eve? Report. His voice was cracked but commanding. Mission status, humanity, extinct. Primary colonies destroyed. Earth uninhabitable. Only you remain. Adrian froze. His throat tightened. How long? 212 years, Captain. He closed his eyes for a long moment. His memories came back in flashes. The war, the fire over Earth, the last battle near Mars. He had ordered the Vengeance to retreat, to survive, to wait. He had never thought he'd wake up to a galaxy without humans. Why did you wake me? He asked quietly. External interference detected. Alien fleets approached human space. Awakening protocol initiated as per command order. Protect humanity at all costs. Adrian looked at the holographic displays lighting up around him. Countless red dots appeared on the galactic map. Alien ships, warfleets, exploration units, all near Sol system. So they came, he muttered. They couldn't let us rest. Affirmative. They investigated the distress beacon. They were warned. They ignored. Adrian's expression hardened. Then they'll remember why we were called Death Worlders. The Vengeance came alive. Light surged through the corridors. Massive engines hummed with power that hadn't been used in centuries. Shields reactivated, glowing like a second skin around the warship. But this time the ship was stronger. For 200 years, Eve 9 had been awake, listening to alien transmissions, learning their languages, studying their technology. Every signal, every weapon frequency, every encryption pattern had been absorbed. Now, she was the most advanced machine in the galaxy. On a nearby moon, an alien scout station picked up strange readings, massive energy spikes, gravitational distortions. The officer in charge stared at his console. Something big is charging, right below us. A moment later, the moon's surface cracked. A shadow rose from beneath its crust. The Vengeance lifting off slowly, its engines burning like twin suns. The shockwave shattered the station instantly. The Vengeance was no longer hiding. At the Galactic Council, sirens blared. "The human ship is moving," cried one officer. "It's heading straight for the central sector." Admiral Tarek clenched his fists. "It's not attacking at random. It's testing us." "Testing?" the Chancellor asked. Yes, the humans always tested their enemies before they struck. Every ship the Council sent to intercept was wiped out instantly. But not destroyed, disabled. Their power systems died, their weapons melted, and yet their crews were left alive. Adrian watched from his command chair. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with quiet fury. "I told you to stay away," he whispered. Eve 9's voice softened. "They do not understand, Captain. Then we'll teach them." As the Vengeance moved through space, it transmitted a message across all frequencies. "This territory belongs to humanity. Enter at your own risk." The message spread across systems in minutes. Billions heard it. Many refused to believe it was real. But those who had seen the ship, the survivors of Captain Yoral's fleet, knew better. They knew that tone, that voice. It was human will, unbreakable, unstoppable. Meanwhile, deep inside the ship's core, Eve 9 revealed something Adrian didn't know. "Captain, I have adapted alien weapon systems and shield patterns. The ship is now 3.4 times stronger than before." Adrian smiled faintly. "Good work, Eve. Humanity's not done yet. Objective?" He looked out into the stars, eyes cold. "We find them all. Every race that burned our home, every empire that called us monsters. We remind them what monsters really look like." Eve 9's lights pulsed brighter. "Acknowledged, Captain." Mission resumed, and as the Vengeance vanished into hyperspace, the stars around it seemed to dim, as if even light feared to follow. In the coming days, worlds would burn. Fleets would fall. The galaxy was about to learn that the last human was not here for peace. He was here for vengeance. The galaxy had not known fear for centuries. Empires had risen and fallen, fleets had battled across the stars, and thousands of species had learned to live under uneasy peace. But now that peace was breaking. The reason was simple. A single name whispered in every corner of the galaxy: the Vengeance. It had been weeks since the ancient human warship had awakened. Whole fleets sent to intercept it had vanished. Planets near the void sector went silent, their satellites showing only one image before transmission loss. A massive, black warship moving between the stars like a ghost. The Galactic Council met every day now. The chamber that once echoed with politics and trade now shook with fear. Reports came in from every system: unexplained energy waves, blackouts, missing ships, and a message repeating across the networks: "Do not approach, Sol. This territory belongs to humanity." The Chancellor slammed his claws on the table. "We cannot let this continue. That ship is threatening half the galaxy." Admiral Tarek remained calm, though his eyes were weary. "You misunderstand," he said quietly. "It isn't threatening us. It's warning us," another alien barked. "It destroyed 3 fleets." Tarek shook his head. "No, it disabled them. Every crew survived. That's not an attack. That's a message: stay away." The humans never wasted bullets unless they had to, but no one wanted to listen. Fear ruled now. A dozen empires combined their strength, creating what they called the Allied Star Fleet, the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Over 1 million ships, all focused on one goal: destroy the human warship before it could destroy them. Far away, the USS Vengeance drifted silently above a dying star. Inside the command chamber, Captain Adrian Holt watched the holographic map before him. Red dots spread like infection, all enemy fleets moving toward him. Eve 9's calm voice filled the air. Incoming armada detected. 77,000 ships on direct course. Estimated time to contact 12 hours. Adrian leaned back, his face unreadable. So they finally united. Took them long enough. Orders, Captain. He stared into the dark void beyond the viewport. We don't run. We show them what it means to fight humanity. Acknowledged. Activating war protocols. Throughout the ship, lights turned blood red. Massive cannons extended from the hull, each one older than the current galaxy governments. The armor plates shifted, sealing the ship in layers of defense that no alien weapon had ever breached. Deep within its core, Eve 9 hummed softly. Connecting every system, every weapon, every piece of knowledge it had gathered from alien technology. The ship wasn't just ready for war, it was war itself. The first wave arrived. Thousands of alien ships surrounded the Vengeance, forming a glowing sphere of firepower. Admiral Kriv, commander of the Allied fleet, gave the order. All ships open fire. The stars vanished in light. Missiles, plasma beams, and particle weapons hit the Vengeance from every direction. The blast was so strong it lit up nearby systems. For 10 whole seconds no one could see anything, then the smoke cleared. The Vengeance was still there, untouched. Not a single scratch. Its shields pulsed once, releasing a shockwave that threw the entire alien formation into chaos. Hundreds of ships lost control, their engines fried instantly. Inside the command deck, Adrian stood up slowly. Eve analyzed their patterns, already done. Countering with adaptive return fire. A hum filled the ship. Then lightning erupted. The Vengeance fired once, and entire fleets blinked out of existence. Not destroyed, teleported. Their coordinates scrambled, their ships lost in deep space. Adrian's voice was calm but cold. Tell them again. Eve 9 transmitted across every open channel. This is Captain Adrian Holt of the United Earth Defense Command. Humanity does not seek war, but if you bring it to us, we will end it. The voice echoed across the galaxy. Billions heard it. Some cried, some prayed, and some refused to believe it was real. But every soldier who faced the Vengeance that day saw the truth with their own eyes. The humans had not died. They had simply become something the galaxy could never match. Back on the Council's capital world, chaos ruled. Systems were abandoning the Alliance. Armies refused to fight. Rumors spread that the human captain could control space itself, that his ship could tear apart stars. Admiral Tarek watched the news in silence. They are not trying to conquer us, he murmured. They're reminding us, reminding the galaxy why we once feared them. A young officer turned to him. Sir, what do we do now? Tarek sighed. Pray they don't remember who started the war. Meanwhile, the Vengeance continued its march. One by one, enemy fleets vanished. The ship never slowed, never faltered. It was heading somewhere, toward the galactic center. Adrian stood before the viewport, watching the glowing spiral of the galaxy ahead. Eve, he said softly, prepare the main drive. Destination? He smiled faintly, a mix of sorrow and fire in his eyes. Home, Earth. The ship turned and hyperspace ripped open in front of it. But before entering, it sent one last message across the stars, short, simple, and terrifying. You took Earth from us, now. We'll take your stars. Then, with a blinding flash, the Vengeance vanished into the void once more, leaving behind only silence and a galaxy that would never sleep again. The galaxy burned. Everywhere the USS Vengeance passed, fleets fell, worlds went dark, and fear spread faster than light. The name human, once buried under 2 centuries of history, now carried new meaning, unstoppable. Across 1,000 systems, people whispered the same phrase, the last human is awake. The combined forces of the galaxy, what remained of them, gathered for one final stand. The largest armada ever assembled waited near the galactic center, their ships forming a wall of light stretching across the stars. Over 2 million vessels from 50 different species, warships, carriers, dreadnoughts, ready to end the Vengeance once and for all. At the center of it all stood Admiral Kriv, scarred and tired but unbroken. This ends today, he said to his command crew. No more running, no more fear. The human dies here, But deep in the void beyond their scanners, the Vengeance was already watching. Inside the ship, Captain Adrian Holt sat in his command chair, face lit by the red glow of tactical displays. Around him, the hum of the engines was calm, steady, patient. Eve 9's voice filled the air, soft and emotionless. Enemy fleet detected. 2 million ships. They are forming a containment net. Adrian gave a small, cold smile. They think they can contain a black hole. Probability of victory if engaged directly. 0.003%, Eve reported. He leaned forward. Then we don't fight directly. Strategy input? Activate Project Helix, he said. For a moment, the ship went silent. Even Eve paused. That system was never tested, Captain. It could destroy us as well. Adrian's eyes hardened. If humanity's legacy dies with me, then it dies on its own terms. Understood. In the command room of the Allied fleet, alarms began to scream. Energy readings spiked across the entire sector. Sir, the Vengeance just appeared behind us. Admiral Kriv turned sharply. Behind? That's impossible. On the main screen, space itself twisted. The Vengeance emerged from a rip in hyperspace, right inside their formation. Fire! Fire everything! Kriv roared. A storm of energy erupted, shaking the stars. But the Vengeance didn't dodge. Its armor shimmered, absorbing the attacks like water over glass. Then the warship unleashed its power. A single pulse. One soundless shockwave. Every ship within 100 kilometers froze. Engines dead, weapons offline, power gone. The crew stared helplessly as their systems flickered and died. Adrian stood calmly, hands clasped behind his back. Eve, begin Helix sequence. Initiating. The Vengeance's core began to spin, layers of plasma folding in on themselves. Space trembled around it. The massive ship split into 3 holographic copies, each moving independently, each firing impossible beams that twisted gravity itself. The alien fleet broke apart in panic. Ships collided, crushed by invisible force. Entire formations vanished into the light. Admiral Kriv's ship shook violently. "What is it doing?" A terrified officer screamed. "Sir, it's creating miniature singularities. It's using gravity as a weapon." Inside the Vengeance, the lights dimmed. Eve's voice grew softer. "Captain, energy levels at 32%. The system is overloading." Adrian exhaled slowly. "Hold steady. Humanity didn't come this far to fall now." On screen, the galactic armada was collapsing. Ships tried to escape, but space bent around them, dragging them back into the storm. Adrian watched quietly, his voice low. "You called us monsters. Now see what you made us become." "Target count reduced by 70%, Eve reported. "Keep firing." The Vengeance's cannons turned toward the largest enemy carriers, firing bolts of compressed matter that tore through shields like paper. For every shot, dozens of ships vanished. But the strain was too much. Sparks flew across the command deck. Eve's systems began to falter. Warning. "Core containment failing." Adrian gritted his teeth. "Divert everything to shields. That will destabilize the helix field. Do it!" The ship roared in defiance, holding together through sheer will. Outside, the black hole fields began to collapse, ripping themselves apart in waves of blue energy. When the light faded, the once mighty Allied fleet was gone. Only scattered wreckage drifted among the stars. For a long moment there was silence. Eve spoke softly. "All enemy forces eliminated. Damage level catastrophic. Power reserves critical." Adrian slumped in his chair, exhausted. "How many survived?" "Approximately 4% escaped the field. Most systems destroyed," he nodded slowly. "Good. Maybe they'll remember." Eve paused. "Captain, you are injured." He looked down. His hand was bleeding, small shards of metal embedded in his arm. But he didn't care. "We did what we had to. Humanity isn't dead. Not yet. Captain, life signs unstable. Cryo recovery recommended." He smiled faintly. "You always cared too much, Eve. It is my programming." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the survivors sent desperate transmissions. "The fleet is gone. The human ship destroyed everything. It's unstoppable." The Galactic Council listened in horror. Entire empires fell silent. No one dared to move against the Vengeance again. They began calling it the War of one man. One ship against the entire galaxy, and it still won. Back aboard the Vengeance, Adrian stood by the viewport, watching the remains of the battle drift away like dust. "Eve," he whispered, How many stars do we have left to visit? Too many, Captain, but none are called Earth. He closed his eyes for a moment. Then that's our next mission, find it. Maybe there's something left. Eve's lights dimmed gently. Understood. The engines began to hum again, though weaker this time. The great ship turned slowly, its hull scorched, armor cracked but still flying. As it entered hyperspace, Adrian looked one last time at the fading stars behind him. For Earth, he whispered. And with a thunderous pulse, the Vengeance vanished, leaving behind a broken galaxy and a legend that would never die. Silence returned to the galaxy. The great fleets were gone, their ashes drifting through empty space. Entire civilizations had gone quiet, afraid to even whisper the name of the ship that had destroyed them. The USS Vengeance. For months, there were no new sightings. Some said the ship had finally died. Others believed it still roamed the stars, waiting, watching. But in truth, it was drifting far from any star, hidden within a forgotten nebula, repairing itself in the dark. Inside, Captain Adrian Holt sat in his chair, weak and pale. The ship's lights flickered gently around him, the hum of damaged engines echoing through the corridors. He looked older now. Time had finally caught up with the last human. Eve 9's voice broke the silence. Core repairs at 60%. Weapon systems offline. Power reserves critical. Adrian smiled faintly. Still talking, Eve, that's a good sign. It is my function to keep you alive, Captain. He chuckled weakly. You've done that better than anyone. For a moment, neither spoke. The galaxy outside was quiet, too quiet. Adrian stared at the endless black, his eyes distant. We won the battle, Eve, but for what? There's no one left to tell our story. Incorrect, Eve replied softly. Records of humanity exist within my databanks. Every voice, every image, every dream saved from Earth before its fall. I preserve them as you ordered. Adrian's eyes softened. Good. Then humanity isn't gone completely. No, Captain, Eve said. As long as one human remains, humanity endures. Far away in the capital of the Galactic Council, chaos still reigned. Empires blamed one another, fearing the Vengeance might return. Rumors spread that the ship was rebuilding, preparing for another strike. Admiral Tarek, the only one who truly understood, stood before the Council. You cannot fight him, he warned. You've seen what he is capable of. The human does not want conquest. He wants peace. But if you push him again, he will bring you extinction. The Chancellor's voice trembled. Then what should we do? Tarek looked up at the holographic image of the Vengeance floating above them. You stay away from Sul forever. Meanwhile, deep inside the nebula, the Vengeance completed its repairs. Eve's systems pulsed brighter, restoring life to the ancient ship. Repairs complete. Energy restored. Adrian leaned forward slowly. His wounds were healing, but his strength was fading. He placed his hand on the console. How long can I last without cryo-rest? At current biological decay rate, approximately 40 hours. He nodded. Then we make them count. Orders, Captain. Plot a course for Sol system. The AI hesitated. Earth is gone, Captain. Radiation levels remain extreme. I know, he said softly. But home is home. As the ship entered hyperspace, the stars stretched into lines of light. Adrian sat in silence, memories flooding his mind. Earth's blue oceans, green forests, the laughter of children, the last sunrise he ever saw before the war began. He whispered to himself, we were flawed, but we loved. We fought, but we dreamed. That's what made us human. Eve's voice softened. Would you like to hear a recording, Captain? Adrian smiled faintly. Yes, play one. Music filled the command deck. An old Earth song, warm and sad, drifting through the endless dark. It was a reminder of everything they had lost, and everything worth protecting. When the ship finally arrived in the Sol system, silence met them. The planets were dead, the sun dim, its fire weaker than before. Earth was nothing but a blackened sphere, its surface scarred by old wars. Adrian stood at the viewport. His hands trembled as he whispered, I'm home. Eve's sensors scanned the planet. No signs of life detected. Atmosphere unstable. Adrian closed his eyes. Doesn't matter. It's still ours. He sat down slowly, breathing deeply. Eve, transmit one last message. Use every frequency. Message content. He thought for a long moment, then said softly, tell them this, humanity is gone, but our legacy remains. Never provoke Earth again. Understood. Eve's systems glowed as the message spread through space, bouncing from satellite to satellite, across abandoned outposts and alien networks, until it reached every corner of the galaxy. For a brief moment, the entire galaxy heard his voice, calm, human, eternal. To those who hear this, know this truth: we are not gods. We are not monsters. We are what we had to become, and we will never be forgotten. The message ended. Silence returned. Adrian leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly. Eve, shut down my vitals. It's time. Captain, I am not programmed to... Do it, Eve, you've done enough. There was a long pause. Then Eve's voice came, soft as a whisper. Good night, Captain Holt. The cryopod opened beside him. Adrian stepped inside, lying down one last time. The lid closed, sealing him in gentle light. His heartbeat slowed, then stopped. The Vengeance went silent once more. Its lights dimmed, its weapons powered down. For a moment it simply floated, majestic and alone above the dead planet it once called home. Then, as if obeying its final command, the ship's engines ignited. Slowly it rose away from Earth, vanishing into the stars. Years passed, then decades, then centuries. But sometimes in the deepest parts of space, travelers still spoke of seeing a great black ship moving silently through the dark. Its hull scarred, its lights glowing faint blue, like the eyes of something ancient that refused to die. And when they passed it, their sensors picked up a single transmission, endlessly repeating USS Vengeance. Mission: protect humanity. Status ongoing.